UFC on ABC for Rozenstruik Almeida. Full card prediction. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We're going to be doing full card predictions every single week. Some confident picks, some betting breakdowns, MMA news videos, all of the good stuff. And we got a solid card here. UFC on ABC4 has pretty much two main events in Jailton, Almeida, Jairzinho, Rozenstruik, and Johnny Walker, Anthony Smith, which also could be a main event. We got some banger, undefeated guys on the card, like Yeon, Machado, Garry taking on a Daniel Rodriguez. A lot of fighters with one loss as well on this UFC fight card, like Pete Rodriguez, Natan, Levy, Karl Williams right there, Carlos Ulberg. And it should be a very, very solid fight card. Put your full card predictions down below in the comment section. I'm talking top to bottom, just the last name or first name of every single one of your predictions. I'd love to know. I'd love to see what you guys are thinking for this UFC fight card. And also put your favorite bet to make on this entire fight card in the comments. But with that being said, let's get into the full card prediction as we start from the bottom, make our way to the top of the first fight. In the bantamweight division, Jessica Rose Clark and Tainara Lisboa. In the flyweight division, Jessica Rose Clark is a slight favorite at the moment at minus 150. Possibly the odds could have changed since then. Now, Tainara Lisboa is the favorite at minus 123. The line has flipped on its head from having Jessica as a medium to small favorite to being the underdog and having plus money on her name. Tapology is going with the underdog now in Jessica Rose Clark in a very, very low-level women's MMA fight. Tainara Lisboa is a very, very solid striker with 3 KO wins and 0 KO losses. You look at a Brazilian girl like this, you probably think jiu-jitsu. She's going to take her down, submit her, especially considering Jessica Rose Clark's recent losses were both arm bars in round number 1. You're probably thinking, oh, for sure, the Brazilian is going to take this fight down and submit her. Not really going to be the game plan. She does have a submission, though, on Dalina Cyborg. She did lose to Norma Damont, a UFC fighter, by rear naked choke submission. So it's not like she has crazy good jiu-jitsu game. But her striking is very, very solid. Again, she got those 2 first-round knockouts in a row. Then a submission win on Canessio Oliveira. Personally, I think she's kind of taken a big step up in competition here against Jessica Rose Clark. I mean, she's fighting 0-0 girls, 1-4 girls over and over again. She's a very good striker, don't get me wrong, but taking the step up to fight a girl like Jessica Rose Clark on the first fight of the night of UFC Charlotte, Rozenstruik Almeida, I don't know. I don't really know how well Tainara Lisboa is going to do going against that UFC caliber opponent. Now, I think Tainara Lisboa is going to do very well early on in this fight. I think she wins round number 1, outstriking Jessica Rose Clark in this fight. But I'm going to be honest, I actually think Jessica Rose Clark starts to make a little bit of a comeback the later on the fight goes, and I know I just showed that she got submission losses in her last 2 fights, but I think she starts to use the wrestling, use the grappling, and grind it out a little bit in the second and third round. That grappling and the wrestling's going to tire out Tainara Lisboa a little bit, making the striking a little bit better for Jessica Rose Clark. I think round 1 goes to the favorite, Tainara Lisboa. Round 2 and 3 go to Jessica Rose Clark in a 50-50 fight. I mean, again, Tainara Lisboa has not gone against UFC caliber fighters. Nobody really knows what her ceiling is in MMA. She could go out there and starch Jessica Rose Clark with a knockout in round number 1. Again, I think she wins round number 1. She could possibly finish Jessica Rose Clark in that round, but Jessica's a veteran. I think she survives and wins the later round. Should be a close one here in the flyweight division. I got the underdog, Jessica Rose Clark. Gabe Green and Bryan battle in the welterweight division, and this prediction is for all the people saying I don't pick underdogs. Not every fight card. Some fight cards I do have a lot of favorites that I do pick, but we're on the second fight, and I already have my second underdog of the fight card. And right here, we have Bryan Battle at plus 115 right there. Betting on saying the fight is going to go to a decision, I do believe so. It's a very hard thing to do to finish a guy like Gabe Green when Daniel Rodriguez as well as Ian Machado Garry are not finishing Gabe Green. I mean, no, Bryan Battle is not going to go out there and finish Gabe Green in this fight. But I am going to go with the underdog here in Bryan Battle to win by a unanimous decision. He is taller. He is lengthier. He is bigger than Gabe Green. He kind of fits the similar mold to Ian Machado Garry. Now, see, anywhere near as good as Ian Machado Garry? I don't think so. I don't really agree with that. But his kickboxing game is improving. His striking is improving. And his wrestling and grappling is good enough to kind of dictate where he wants the fight to be. If he wants this fight to be a wrestling and grappling fight, he can make it a wrestling fight if he wants a little bit. I'm not saying he's going to dominate Gabe Green on the ground, but he can kind of mix in some wrestling and grappling to this fight. But for the most part, I kind of expect this fight to be a striking and stand-up affair, with Bryan Battle using the height, using the reach, and kind of being the rangy striker, like he was doing against Takashi Sato before he was able to catch him with the head kick. That's what I'm kind of expecting here. I do believe that my man, Bryan Battle, is going to outstrike Gabe Green ever so slightly on the outside. I do think Gabe Green will win round number 3, but I got Bryan Battle in round 1. And in round number 2, I got Bryan Battle, the Butcher, by a unanimous decision. Maybe even a split. It could be that close of a fight, but it should be a good one. Betting odds on that prediction of Bryan Battle by decision, plus 240. Interesting. Do with that what you will. Yeon Kim and Mandy Bohm in the flyweight division. You guys know how I feel about the fight. I think this is the second or third fight, or third time that this fight has been made. The second time. I did a prediction back in February when this was originally announced for that UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Spivak. I had Yeon Kim by a 29-28 decision. That's still what I'm going with. The reason being, neither girl's good. I mean, you see right here, Yeon Kim's on a 4-fight losing streak. Mandy Bohm is on a 2-fight losing streak. What? I mean, come on. Neither of these girls are really UFC caliber, in my opinion. Yeon Kim hits a lot harder than Mandy Bohm. Mandy really just doesn't have enough pop behind her punches. I'm going to be dead honest with you. Volume is pretty even, but it's kind of just the power difference. I think Yeon Kim hits a little bit harder, and I think that's what's going to get her the win here against Mandy Bohm. I think whenever the Korean Zombie's retirement fight might be, they'll stick Yeon Kim on the prelims for that one, but the only way they're going to get her on that card is if she wins this fight against Mandy Bohm, which I think she will. I think she's a better striker. She hits a little bit harder. Not a very technical breakdown on my part. It's just she's ever so slightly the better fighter. I'm not looking forward to this fight, but Yeon Kim by a split or unanimous decision. So Natan Levy and Pete Rodriguez in the UFC's lightweight division. Now, for everyone out there putting Natan Levy in the parlays, I'll talk about it in my betting breakdown video. Don't do it. Please just don't do it. Well, why would you parlay a guy like Natan Levy when he barely got by Mike Breeden? I'm saying that right. Mike Breeden is not UFC caliber. Pete Rodriguez is kind of borderline UFC caliber, if you know what I'm saying. He did beat Genaro Valdez after that, which was a very decent win. Was able to mix in some takedowns and land some good shots on the feet as well. But we got a guy that's a welterweight in Pete Rodriguez moving down to the lightweight division. Going to be a little bit bigger than Natan Levy here. He's the same height, little bit of a reach advantage. He's a slight, not a huge advantage on the feet, but he is the slightly better striker than Natan Levy. And he's going to be the bigger guy, so that could help him with the takedown defense. There's a very live opportunity for Pete Rodriguez to go out there and win this fight by a decision or maybe even a KO. I don't think he'll get the finish. I don't think he'll win. I am going to go Natan Levy to win this fight, but it's not a fight you want to parlay. Natan Levy is in my opinion, the better wrestler, the better grappler, of course. He's going to be better once the fight hits the mat, and I do expect a few moments for this fight to hit the mat. But I also do expect Pete Rodriguez to make this a rough, gritty fight, possibly rock, possibly knock down Natan Levy at some point in this match. But I still think, aside from that one good round that Pete Rodriguez will have, I'll give the other two to Natan Levy. Pete Rodriguez did get knocked out by Jack Della Maddalena, but again, Natan Levy is not really the finishing type of guy. Out of his last 5 fights, 4 of them have gone to a decision. Pete Rodriguez got knocked out by a top 15 guy, a future title challenger, most people are saying. I don't expect Natan Levy to get the finish, and I'm hoping he does. I'm hoping we get a finish, because I've already predicted 3 decisions in a row. I'm hoping one of these fights is a finish. I'm hoping we get a nice Rose Clark finish, a Bryan battle knockout, a Yeon Kim TKO, but I'm going to have to say Natan Levy by a unanimous decision. Cody Stamann and Douglas Silva de Andrade in the bantamweight division. Douglas did lose to Said Nurmagomedov. In his last fight, had 2 solid wins on Gaetano Perello, which was just devastating, and then a good rear naked on Sergey Morozov after he rocked Sergey Morozov twice before that. Did lose to Lerone Murphy, beat Renan Barão, so he's got some solid wins, but he's a very up and down fighter. Once he loses, though, he comes back with a vicious knockout. Usually when he loses, he comes back in a very good way. He is taller, he is lengthier than Cody Stamann. I do believe he is going to be a slightly better striker than Cody Stamann, but is he going to be the better wrestler? Not necessarily. We did see Cody Stamann, usually in most of his fights, he is able to mix in those takedowns and wrestle and grapple and dominate and control the fight on the ground. But I don't think he's going to do that. I was coming into this one with it being like a 50-50 fight, and it probably could go either way, but the more that I think about this fight, the more I lean Douglas Silva de Andrade. I don't know why. It could just be me. 70% are going Cody Stamann here. I got a weird feeling on Douglas Silva de Andrade. I'm remembering the Luan Lacerda fight, and Cody Stamann did not look good in that fight at all. He was very, very tentative to go in there and strike with Luan Lacerda, who's really not that powerful of a guy. And Douglas Silva de Andrade is a much, much better striker than that. And, if he's striking with guys like Eddie Wine and Luan Lacerda, not really mixing in too much of the wrestling and the grappling, like he's able to do with guys like Brian Kelleher, Alejandro Perez, and things like that, that kind of leads me to believe this is probably going to be a striking matchup. And I could be, again, he could go out there and just grind and wrestle and take down Douglas for 3 straight rounds to get that decision. But I'm not really seeing why Cody Stamann should be the favorite. This should be a -110 fight. This should be a 50-50 matchup in the UFC's bantamweight division. But I'm going to go the underdog. He's more powerful. He hits harder, like I just said. He's taller. He's lengthier. He's got solid takedown defense. Not absolutely amazing takedown defense, but pretty solid takedown defense. And I think he's the better striker. Usually, if they got good takedown defense going against a wrestler and they're the better striker, usually that guy is going to go out there and win. Unless Cody's just going to go crazy on those takedowns. But I'm not buying it. I'm not buying Cody's going to go crazy on those takedowns and dominate this fight on the ground. I'm going to go Douglas Silva de Andrade by a decision. Again, I'm hoping, I'm praying Douglas gets the TKO because I'm going to be there in person. I'm hoping for the finish. But my man has never been KO'd. It's only submission losses and decision losses for Cody Stamann in his entire MMA career. I'm hoping for the KO. But I got Douglas Silva de Andrade by a 29-28 decision. Karl Williams and Chase Sherman in the heavyweight division. Same age, similar height, similar reach. But you already know, Karl Williams is the much better wrestler, much better grappler, way better on the ground with the ground and pound, the jiu-jitsu, and the grappling, and all of that type of stuff. This dude is an absolute beast on the ground when it comes to wrestling and grappling. He's taking on Chase Sherman in his second fight inside of the UFC. And Chase Sherman is one of those guys that's kind of just very up and down. I mean, he wins a fight here, gets a good KO, TKO win, and then loses a few fights. And then comes back with a devastating knockout win, and then loses a few fights. He's one of those guys. He's kind of like the gatekeeper to kind of prove if you are UFC caliber. If you're able to beat Chase Sherman, you're UFC caliber at least. If you lose to him, you're going to get cut. Like, everyone that he beats gets cut. Ike Villanueva, Jared Vandeira are both no longer inside of the UFC. Jack May, Rashad Coulter, Damian Grabowski, none of these guys are inside of the UFC anymore. And I do believe Karl Williams is UFC caliber, so obviously I'm going to go for him to win the fight, and I do have him by finish here. Chase is coming off a decision loss to Wilder Cortez Acosta, but I kind of see this one similarly going the way of the Alexander Romanov fight or the Jake Collier fight. I think it'll take a little bit longer than the Alexander Romanov fight. I'm expecting a round 2 submission win for Karl Williams. I think he's going to be kind of cruising to a unanimous decision, and Chase Sherman's going to be like, all right, I need to do something, try to get up. It's going to give the back to Karl Williams, and I got Karl Williams by a submission in round number 2. And one thing that did strike me, I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit off topic of the actual prediction, but my man Karl Williams was about to fight Simeon Powell on the PFL Challenger Series of 2022. That would not have been good at all. I mean, Simeon Powell is such a prospect right now over there in the PFL. Got that win on the Challenger Series and got 3 finishes in a row after that, and is the kind of the front runner to win the PFL season. And I mean, that could have all been changed if he ended up fighting Karl Williams. I had to throw that in there because I saw that and I was like, Karl Williams right now, if this fight didn't withdraw from the fight, he would have beaten Simeon Powell, in my opinion, and he would be on his way to winning PFL Europe Season 1 right now, because I believe he would be the winner of PFL Season 1 for Europe, which is just insane to think about, in my opinion. He could be a millionaire if he stuck with the PFL, but the fight got canceled. He got one good win after that, and then some solid wins after that as well. Crazy, but I got Karl Williams by submission in round number 2. Matt Brown and Court McGee in the welterweight division. I'm going to say it right now. I'm praying, I'm hoping to the MMA gods that Matt Brown goes out there and starches Court McGee in round number 1, round number 2, and knocks him out early on in this fight. I'm praying that Matt Brown goes ahead and does that, because 42 years old, if he's able to get another knockout win and tie the record of Derek the Black Beast Lewis for most knockouts in UFC history, clearly the most knockouts in welterweight or lightweight history and things like that, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. That's what I'm rooting for to happen. I'm really, really hoping that Matt Brown can go out there and get the TKO here. He lost a split decision, very close fight, to Bryan Barberena, lost unanimous to Carlos Condit, and got knocked out by Miguel Baeza. This is kind of a similar kind of tier of opponent here in Court McGee, but we know what Court McGee is going to do. He's going to try to wrestle, he's going to try to grapple and grind and grind and grind and grind and grind. And I do believe he's going to be successful in that. Is that what I'm hoping? No. I mean, I'm hoping Matt Brown's able to stuff those takedowns and just rocks and knock down Court McGee round 1, knocks him down in round number 2, uppercut, head kick KO at the end of round 2, and ties the record. I'm praying, I'm hoping Matt Brown can do that. You got to think realistically what's most likely going to happen here is Court's going to grind, Court's going to wrestle, Court's going to grapple, Court's going to, again, I'm going to say it again. He's going to grind. We know he's going to grind. Court McGee, 29-28 unanimous decision. Hopefully my prediction is wrong. I want Matt Brown to win so badly, But again, Court McGee is the crusher, and he is a grinder. Court McGee by unanimous decision. Tim Means and Alex Morono in the welterweight division. Both are coming off losses or loss. In terms of Alex Morono getting knocked out by Santiago Ponzinibbio when he was winning the entire fight. Tim Means beating guys like Loreno Staropoli, Mike Perry, which was a very, very well-aging win, Nicholas Dalby, and then losing to Kevin Holland and Max Griffin. Both solid guys outside of the top 15. The close fight, very, very close fight in my opinion. I do lean Alex Morono to get the decision. The striking, it's going to be a striking fight. There's not going to be any like high-level wrestling or grappling. This isn't going to be a Khabib Nurmagomedov type of a fight. This is going to be 3 rounds of striking between Alex Morono and Tim Means. And Alex Morono, he's got the game plan, he's got the head movement, and he's just good at, he's a veteran of the game. They both are veterans of this game. But I think Morono is going to be able to land a little bit more volume and hit a little bit harder. He's not the most powerful puncher ever, but I do believe he's going to be able to hit Tim Means with the harder, more effective shots, land a little bit more volume. If Tim Means wants to win this fight, he's got to make it dirty. The dirty bird, he's going to have to get this fight to the clinch and land those elbows and knees and elbows. I don't see that happening. He's a live dog. He is a live dog for those clinch situations, possibly cutting up Alex Morono if it's a very, very close round and Tim Means is able to cut him open with that elbow. He probably wins that round. So it's a close one here. I'm going to go Alex Morono by a 29-28 decision. Carlos Ulberg and Ihor Potieria. Ihor Potieria is exactly like the first guy I boxed in my boxing debut about 2 weeks ago. He is from Ukraine, and he's literally about 6'3" tall, so about the same height as Ihor Potieria. But just like Ihor Potieria, and just like my opponent, they're probably going to lose. They are probably going to lose. Carlos Ulberg is the much better striker here. Ihor Potieria is going to have to make this a very dirty fight if he wants to win against Carlos Ulberg. And I'm not saying dirty fight as in poke him in the eye or anything like that. I'm saying he's going to have to make this fight go to the round number 2, round number 3, where they are both gassed out of their minds, and Ihor just has to keep pushing and pushing and pushing for the finish on Carlos Ulberg. Because round number 1, you're not going to go out there and beat a guy like Carlos Ulberg. Round 1, Ulberg is very, very dangerous. I mean, we saw it in the Kennedy and Zeshuku fight. He looked amazing against Kennedy in round number 1. Round 2, yeah, we can talk about that another time. Again, round 1, knocked out Tafon and Chuku in a minute. Round 1, knocked out Nicole Negamarianu, a guy that has never been finished except for that fight in his MMA career. I mean, this dude hits like a truck, Carlos Ulberg, and I do believe Ihor Potieria is going to walk into something in round number 1. He's not necessarily the best striker out there. He's just powerful. I mean, light heavyweight division has a lot of those guys where they're not the most technical striker, but they have some good power and are able to land and just crack the chin of their opponent. I think Ihor Potieria is going to get put on a masterclass on the feet from Carlos Ulberg, and it's going to look very, very nice. A good highlight for the reels for Carlos Ulberg. The only chance I see Ihor winning is shooting a takedown early on in round number 1, taking this fight to round 2 and round number 3, and just kind of grinding. That's the way to beat a guy like Carlos Ulberg, is to take it to the later rounds and grind. I don't see it happening. Carlos Ulberg, TKO. Ian Machado, Garry, and Daniel Rodriguez in the welterweight division. It was a close fight. -110 is exactly what I think this fight should be. D-Rod, before the loss to Neil Magny, man was on a roll. Man was on an absolute roll in the UFC's welterweight division. I mean, he finished Tim Means, a guy that is very hard to finish. Beat Gabe Green by unanimous decision, knocked out Dwight Grant in round number 1, got robbed against Nicholas Dalby, destroyed Mike Perry, destroyed Preston Parsons, destroyed Kevin Lee. A little bit of a robbery win on Jing Liang Li as well. But D-Rod, I mean, the level of competition here. Gabe Green, Kevin Lee, Jingliang Lee, Neil Magny, Nicholas Dalby. That's a huge difference from Ian Machado Garry's. Gabe Green, yes, true. Kenan Song, Darian Weeks. There's a huge difference there. There is a very, very big difference between the two guys. And again, that's why I see this being a -110 fight, because Ian Machado Garry got rocked against Jordan Williams, who's no longer inside of the UFC. He almost got knocked out in that fight. Daniel Rodriguez hits harder than Jordan Williams. He's better than Jordan Williams. He's more of a veteran, more fights, more knockouts, more finishes than Jordan Williams. If D-Rod gets Ian Garry in that situation, he's probably going to put Ian Machado Garry out cold. And the Darian Weeks fight, I mean, he was just countering, standing the outside. D-Rod's going to keep walking forward. He's going to keep moving and using his boxing to get to the inside. And he's not like a Gabe Green or a Darian Weeks where he's really small and trying to get on the inside. He's 6'1" with the same reach as Ian Machado Garry. So it shouldn't be that hard of a thing for D-Rod to get inside the range of Ian Machado Garry and land some big shots. I for sure think D-Rod will win a round. I for sure think Ian Machado will win a round. Again, like I said, if it was up to me, -110 is exactly where I'd have it. This is nonsense. 75% going Ian Machado Garry is crazy. I'm gonna go Ian. It's the most slight. It's probably one of the most slight leans I'm gonna have on this entire card in Ian Machado Garry. The main reason is volume. And I know D-Rod is a volume freaking machine, like 7-8 punches per minute? It's crazy, something like that. I think round 3 goes Daniel Rodriguez. Once he starts to get that volume off and get the timing off, he's going to start going. I think round 3 for sure D-Rod. Round 1, I got Ian Machado Garry kind of picking apart D-Rod in round number 1. And round number 2 is going to be the closest round of the entire fight. D-Rod is going to be coming forward. He's going to slowly actually trying to be figuring out that range of Ian and figuring out the timing to land on Ian Machado Garry. He's going to land some good shots, but Ian's also going to land some good counters in round number 2. Again, round 2, watch this video back after the fight. Round 2 is going to be a very, very close round, unless something crazy happens and one of them gets knocked down or something like that. But it's going to be a close one. Very, very close fight. Again, if you're one of those guys that just sees, -240, he's probably safe to parlay. Ian Machado Garry in the parlay. You gotta look deeper onto this. Daniel Rodriguez kind of signifies to me. This is what it signifies. And I'm sure you guys remember this, because I know a lot of you guys that parlayed Adrian Yanez a few weeks ago. This fight reminds me of Adrian Yanez, Ian Machado Garry, and Rob Font, Daniel Rodriguez. Rob Font coming off a loss. D-Rod coming off a loss. Ian Machado Garry, undefeated in the UFC. Adrian Yanez, undefeated in the UFC. Both up-and-coming guys. About to fight inside of the rankings or right outside of the rankings. Fighting very good boxers. D-Rod, really good boxer. Rob Font, really good boxer. Ian Machado Garry, really good striker. Adrian Yanez, really good striker. This really signifies to me Rob Font, Adrian Yanez. Do not parlay Ian. These odds are so inflated just because of the undefeated nature. And D-Rod's coming off a loss. This is a 50-50 fight. Leaning Ian Machado Garry for that 29-28 decision, though. It's a close one. Very close fight. Anthony Smith and Johnny Walker in the light heavyweight division. Johnny Walker, my man, is so tall, so lengthy. 6'6", and an 82-inch reach right there. 31 years of age. He is younger. He is taller. He is lengthier. He's coming off 2 really solid wins on Iwan Kutelaba, where he was actually able to reverse the position and submit him. Crazy. And then he was able to knock out Paul Craig when he went in for the takedown. Bop, bop, bop. Out cold Paul Craig. KO round 1. And if you kind of look at how Johnny Walker loses his fights, I think the Thiago Santos fight was a robbery. Personally, I think Johnny Walker won that one. But you look at the other ones, it's against really, really powerful punchers like Corey Anderson, like Jamal Hill, who are just able to keep coming forward and stay away from that crazy sporadic style of Johnny Walker, and they're just able to land a big punch and knock out Johnny Walker. Because again, Johnny doesn't have the best chin. That's one of the ways you're going to beat a guy like Johnny Walker. Again, another first-round knockout by Henrique Silva earlier on in his career. If you're going to beat him, one of the main reasons is going to be you have a lot of power, and you're probably going to go out there and try to knock him out very early on in the fight. The other way is the Nikita Krylov way. Grind. Take the fight down and just freaking grind. Anthony Smith, at this point in his MMA career, he's not really the type of guy to go out there and just knock out Johnny Walker round number 1. The last time he got a first-round knockout win was who? Mauricio Sogunhua and Rashad Evans. 2 guys that were super old at the time. Super old at the time. And were like veterans of the game. This isn't one of those guys in Johnny Walker. I don't think he's going to go out there and try to get that knockout approach that a lot of people try to do on Johnny Walker and just land that big shot. What Anthony Smith is going to try to do is the Nikita Krylov approach, or the approach that he had with Ryan Spann, Jimmy Crute, and Devin Clark. Maybe not the Jimmy Crute, but the Devin Clark and the Ryan Spann fight is probably how he's going to try to go out there and do this. Is that what he's going to do? Is he able to do that? For sure. Of course. Anthony Smith is most definitely able to go out there, take down Johnny Walker, and submit him round 1, round 2. It's very, very possible, and it's a little bit likely that could happen in the co-main event of this fight. But Johnny Walker knows that. And I've seen some training footage, some sparring of Johnny Walker. He's working a lot of stuff in the takedowns and just standing range, flying knees, and as soon as he hits the floor, he's working on defending the takedown. So this is a very takedown defense heavy fight camp for Johnny Walker, and that's pretty much the factor this comes down to. Can Johnny Walker defend the takedown for long enough that he can knock out Anthony Smith, or just defend them for the entire fight and win a decision, or defend enough of them where you can afford to not defend them one round? It's a very close fight. That's why the odds are the way they are, because it's one of those where if Anthony Smith lands that first takedown, the betting odds are going to go towards Anthony Smith. -200, -300 immediately after Anthony Smith is able to land one takedown. But the moment Johnny Walker goes out there and defends 1 takedown, 2 takedowns, 3 takedowns, boom, the odds go Johnny Walker's way. That's what it comes down to. Will Johnny defend the takedowns? I think he will. Not all of them. I'm not saying every single one of them. But I think he wins round number 1, defends those takedowns, stays on the outsides and counters and lands some good shots. I think round number 2, he's going to be able to do most of the same thing, rock Anthony Smith on the feet, and he's going to get taken down towards the end of round number 2. And slightly edge out the round. And Anthony Smith's going to need a finish in round number 3. He's going to go out there like a bat out of hell in round number 3, landing some big shots on Johnny Walker, hurting him a little bit, taking the fight down, and looking for a submission. But I think Johnny survives round 3, wins round 1, wins round 2, loses the final. I got Johnny Walker by a 29-28 decision. Should be a good one, though, in the light heavyweight division. Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Jailton Almeida in the heavyweight division, 5 rounds, 35 years old and 31 years old. The size advantage goes Jairzinho, but the height and reach goes Jailton Almeida. I predicted Jailton in every fight he's done. Nasruddin Alvarez was the underdog. I had him winning that fight. Had him with Danilo Marquez, Parker Porter, Anton Turkalj, and of course Shamil Abdurakhimov. Now he is fighting Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and again, I'm going to back Jailton Almeida to win this fight. Am I backing -550? No, I am not. -550 is ludicrous. That is ludicrous. That is crazy, crazy odds for Jailton Almeida there. Absolutely insane odds for Jailton Almeida. The odds should be a lot closer. It is heavyweight. Jailton is not as big as Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And again, Jairzinho is known for his KO power in round number 1. Super live underdog is Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Now, the prediction I have is going to be Jailton Almeida in round number 2 by a ground and pound TKO. I think round 1, They'll kind of strike for a little bit, stay on the outside. And I think towards the end of round number 1, mid to later portion of round 1, Jailton's going to land the takedown and get very close to a finish, leading the fight to go into round number 2. And I saw an interview with Jailton Almeida saying he didn't want the submission. He wanted the round 1, round 2 TKO. He didn't say if he wanted it on the ground or if he wanted it on the feet. Like he's going to go out there and knock out Biggie Boy on the feet. I highly doubt that. But he wants the TKO, he says. So that's going to be my prediction. If he wants a TKO, he's probably going to go for it and he might actually get it like he was able to against Shamil Abdurakhimov. And that's kind of how I see it going. Curtis Blaydes was able to take down Jairzinho Rozenstruik fairly easily a year and a half ago on that UFC pay-per-view with Volkanovski as the main event. I think Jailton can do the same thing that Curtis Blaydes did, just more damage inflicted and faster. I think the damage is going to accumulate more and more and more. It's not going to be the biggest shots ever, but Jailton is a master of grappling and jiu-jitsu positions. He's going to get Jairzinho not into a place where he's going to threaten actually putting him to sleep with ground and pound, but to a position where he's really not able to get out of it. He's just trying to move, trying to get out of the position, and Jailton just keeps punch, elbow and elbow and elbow, and maybe Jairzinho gets out for a second, but Jailton puts him right back in and punches and punches and punches and punches. Again, he's not going to put Jairzinho to sleep, in my opinion, but I think he puts him in one of those kind of crucifix types of positions. Probably not a crucifix, but gets him into one of those positions where the ref's going to be like, move, you got to work, you got to move, you got to move. And that's where they're going to call off the fight, towards the middle portion of round number 2. That is the prediction. Again, those odds are crazy. Jairzinho has so much power in his hands. He's very, very live as the dog. But I got Jailton round 2, ground and pound TKO. Those are the full card predictions for UFC on ABC 4. Rozenstruik versus Almeida. I got Jailton Almeida by round 2 TKO. Johnny Walker by a decision. I'm not too sure if Johnny's the underdog. He's a slight underdog on one of the betting odds sites, and he's the underdog every now and then. So I'm going to call it an underdog pick. Why not? Why not? He was the underdog for quite a while there, and he's still the underdog on one or two of these betting odds sites. So I'll say it. I got the underdog in Johnny Walker. I slightly have Ian Machado Garry by 29-28 decision. Carlos Ulberg by TKO. Alex Morono by unanimous decision. Court McGee by unanimous decision. Hope not. I'm hoping for that Matt Brown knockout. I got Karl Williams by round 2 submission. Douglas Silva de Andrade, my second underdog of the card right there. Where is he at? Plus 135. So I think my biggest underdog is Douglas Silva de Andrade. I got Natan Levy by unanimous decision. I got Yeon Kim by unanimous decision. Again, please, Natan, get the knockout. Please, Yeon Kim, get the knockout. I'm begging you. I got Bryan Battle as another underdog to win. What is he at right now? Plus 115. And then I got Jessica Rose Clark by a decision as well. And she is also a slight underdog at plus 103. So we got 4 underdogs. That is 1/3 of the entire cards as underdog picks. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Comment your full card predictions down below in the comment section. Sorry about that. And if you are interested in all of the bets that I have to make, maybe you don't want to follow every single one of the bets, but if you are interested in seeing what bets I do make every single week, go to my channel on your computer and press that join button for $2.99 a month. That is 10 pennies a day. The cost of like some drinks at some places. You can get all of my bets for an entire 30 days. 30 full days of bets. Again, if you're not interested, all right. If you do and you are interested, you don't have to use every bet, but they are used as suggestions to kind of guide you on your betting journey throughout some of the UFC fight nights, Bellator fight cards, and PFL fight cards and things like that. But thank you guys for watching. That is the full card prediction. We'll see you in the next one.